On some occasions you have made reference in these talks that we had to theological issues. Yes, it is inevitable. Won't you tell me that you also know the Bible like a friend of yours who knows it by heart?
Well, man, knowing it by heart would not be very useful either, not because as long as I can read and understand it, I don't know it by heart.
Yes, that it is true that there is a friend of yours.
Well, I know many people who know the Bible by heart. Exactly, I don't know any more, but at least they can give you quotes. 1 Corinthians 3-4 and it tells you perfectly.
At the first time.
Yes, I know quite a few people.
What stands out to you about the Bible? Why is the Bible considered to be a book, at least theological, without a doubt, important, also symbolically?
Yes, of course, symbolically. The Bible is, apart from a theological and religious book, it is the place where the traditions of the ancient Jews were embodied, and the Bible represents the faith of a people as they embodied it, and it is fortunate that we can claim it to us understanding and partly modifying our society as a very important book. A question: do you believe everything the Bible says? Is that rather you believe that it has happened? Look, I am going to tell you one thing is that no theologian is that the Bible does not. It is a matter of believing it. That is, for example, they tell me that Adam and Eve, well, they lived very well. Dan was created from the mud. Dan, from Eve, from Adam's ribs, and in the first place, I do have logical reasoning. I don't believe it. Like no theologian believes it. That has a meaning. It is a way of showing that in creation everything comes from the creative power of God, but not that Adam and Eve lived and were the first human beings. No, please. I also have some scientific arguments that refute it. That is, we have to find that. Don't come to me with stories that Jonas couldn't be swallowed by a fish, because it's completely true, like many of our legends, but it has a meaning and you have to understand it.
We said you have Bibles.
Yes, well, I have. I like it. I don't have many books either, but well, I try to have different Bibles because sometimes the translations are incorrect from the original Hebrew or the original Greek. It is always good to compare which is better. Here I have one that is the Thompson Bible, from the 1960 Reina Valera edition, which is a Protestant Bible but has a very good translation. What happens is that it does not include the dictoro-canonical ones. Then I also have here that it is the Taraj Nevi'im Kathubim, which is a Hebrew Bible, which is conventionally used by the Jews. And that is the original. The Old Testament, as we know, includes the Jews.
Are you in favor of religion classes in schools?
I do, for a simple reason. Not that it is institutionalized as mandatory. It is always respectable that there is a division between those who want to study and those who want to teach religion. But I'm in favor of it because most people don't have an access. They are Christians, Catholics, but they don't have access to know her well. There is a lot of biblical and theological ignorance. I believe that if there is a teacher who can give it, he can teach him, and then it can serve to affirm that I believe in this for something.
But it would not be more relevant. From the scientific point of view, I'd ask, history of all religions?
Yes, what happens is that the history of religions would no longer be so deep. That can be given geography of history, and you can simply give Israel as history of Israel. Fernando Sabater said the other day, okay, very good, that there be stories of the regions, but also that there be a history of superstitions. Man, it's quite ironic. No, I don't completely agree. No, because mixing religion is completely different things. With the superstition that things are scientifically not exact, I do not doubt it, but a superstition has nothing to do with a moral teaching that religion represents. Religion is the spiritual soul of man. The man knows that he is going to die, and that is horrible, knowing that you are going to die. You have to stick to something, in this case religion. And I no longer question the existence or non-existence of God. I already dedicate myself, for myself, to see what is the meaning that man has for God and God for man. That is, coexistence, whether God exists or not, because that is a question that will never be possible. Reply: so, if we don't take a step forward, we will always be stuck. And well, that, I repeat, will never be able to be answered until we prove it.
But the materialists, the existentialists say that we must learn to live in that abyss, in that apparent nonsense that, knowing we are mortals, we do not believe in religion or in the afterlife or in God.
Yes, but
Do you think it is possible to live without a religious faith?
Not for me. I don't think it's possible for various reasons. As I said, it is a spiritual food. It is a source of escape. And the human mind needs to believe in something. It's like methodical doubt. I am always asking myself the methodical doubt, not because this glass may be white and it is not white, but it is that if we do not stick to something we will go crazy. The human being is not prepared. He is not prepared. It would be such a flow of knowledge that it would be a dilation in the neurons, which could not. Well, you couldn't assimilate so much information anymore. It's like a computer. If you start to enter data, the computer will end up making mistakes.
But looking for meaning in things by magazine. It is an anthropological question.
Man has to find meaning in things.
Exactly, but nature does not speak of meaning but of processes. There are the plants growing, the rivers flowing. Well, it is a natural reason, right? Why does it have to stun us so much?
Well, the human being is the very constitution of the human being. The human being needs to be stunned by something. The human being cannot be still, cannot be impassive.
Why does it stun us so much that there is no living without the idea of God?
Well, because of what I was telling you, because we need to have some element of moral nourishment that answers many questions that we ourselves cannot answer because we are looking for something that maybe can answer it for us.
And ethics is not enough?
Ethics is not enough because, well, in addition to philosophy, the part of ethics is the analysis of that same knowledge, applying it to morality.
But 30,000 years ago there was no religion.
Sure, but that's what evolution is for, right? Well, 30,000 years ago, excuse me, it started to. I don't know if it was exactly 30,000 years ago, but the dead began to be buried from very early times.
Yeah.
To worship Venus and man has always believed in something, the forces of nature. The sages called it the supreme power and they didn't call it God. We call it God, we call it that, but there has to be a supreme power. Cannot be.
And there is no religion, Carlos, that is, instead of loving an intercessor between us and the absolute, a religion that says that we deeply appreciate the living beings among us instead of granting it to someone.
The Catholic religion too.
No, naturally, but not in the name of a superior being, but out of respect for the human.
Yes, what happens is that we would already be referring not only to the man, right? In other words, we would only take ourselves into account, but what I was telling you, many doubts.
Excuse me, I cut you a lot, right?
No, do not worry.
But aren't men and women enough to believe that it is worth having an ethical profile and doing good?
Just because, without expecting an esoteric spiritual reward?
Yes, but that is morally unfeasible for man, because man needs something to hold on to. In other words, no, we can very well be in a community, all communicated, all united, but we no longer have something that is responding to us. For example, if I am hurting you, why am I hurting you? Why am I not hurting you? However, if I am doing good, well, I say, why am I doing that good? It's that something had to push me.
Because it gives you pleasure.
Well, not just because it gives me pleasure, it doesn't have to give me pleasure to do good. But is that? There must be a superior force that has prompted me to do that good, in that act. Very well, we are talking about the freedom that God has given us, about ways, that is, I can do evil if I want, I can do good if I want, but in that sense.
But a guy as Cartesian as you, so cold, so documented, such an analyst, and you say, there must be someone superior.
Sure, but I'm already speculating, right? As you may well have noticed. Sure, but when saying there has to be, look, but it is that in this sense I am already showing human weakness to respond to certain things that we cannot answer, and it is so when I myself have been seized to believe that there is something superior, but like you another can say no, and very well, I respect you. I am presenting my argument as to why right now there must be why this has been done, and I am not going to be able to answer it, nor do I know how to answer it. Perhaps 100 years ago they did not know how to respond to things that they do now, and they attributed them to a superior being. But that will always pass. So, until then, I think. Until then, which will be an infinite then, I think we have to wait for them. But it is already more for a matter of humility. It is that the man, if he attributes himself, the gifts can be said to have achieved everything he has done, It would already be a lack of humility, because, for example, a frog has not had the same luck of being able right now to have the capacity
Of course not.
to think about it.
And not only that, but among men.
Tempers are a lottery.
And it's lucky that we're not all the same, which is another blessing, because a frog is all the same. However, in all human beings, physically we have the same characteristics, but we are different. We are different, we have a different criteria. And well, that is the great wealth that has been given to us. It has been given to us. I believe that a superior being, others believe that we have been ourselves, but it is as I said, and it is a matter of humility, the humility of the human being himself. We cannot take credit for all achievements.
You are passionate about books.
Do you go to the cinema too?
Well, the cinema. I am very select of the movies, as I said, the 10 Commandments.
Also, it is a paradox. This gentleman who speaks of these terms and has this knowledge, are there movies in which they do not let you enter the cinema?
Accompanied, yes, but with your age?
Man, no similar situation has ever happened to me that they didn't let me into the movies. I'm not going to watch those weird movies they make now either.
What does selective mean in terms of cinema? What kind of cinema do you like?
Above all, I like epic, old cinema, that is monumental, The Dictatorship, Ben-Hur, 55 Days in Beijing. Not this cinema that now comes with virtual reality, which I no longer consider to be my own cinema, but a product of computers, already virtual actors, that one's own cinematography is not being created. The value of seeing a scene that is wonderful, seeing, for example, a scene from The Dictatorship, that Charlton Heston is speaking with a perfect Egyptian set, now that it's all in virtual reality.
But Charlton Heston has jumped on the vine, because he was there doing the Bible, and then there is the association of the fist rifle.
I know, but he is a person.
Now they're doing Star Wars again.
Not interested in science fiction? I like it a lot.
Furthermore, what science does is degrade the future. Now, watching a science movie, I'm scared to look into the future. Because I see that it is going to be a virtual reality, ships, aircraft, space wars. Well, I don't think so. So I prefer not to see it and not like that. I don't get bad ideas. For me,
Does that idea of the future overwhelm you?
the future overwhelms me. Maybe now in a second it is future and it can happen. But it overwhelms me, above all, thinking about what we are going to do.
What are we going to do? And what are we going to do?
Well, as I was saying a very good book, The End of the Story. Since the communist and capitalist fronts have ended, there is only capitalism, it will be the end of history, and we will all be equal. In other words, when all human beings think alike, equally, it will be the end of the world, at least morally. And well, I respect him, as I was saying, but I don't think it's going to be so bad. I don't think the future is going to be so bad. 100 years ago they thought about what we are seeing now, and now we live seeing.
As long as there are exactly the same inequalities, I don't think people think.
Total equality, please.
No, equality.
Total equality as I at least would not like it to be achieved.
But one thing is egalitarianism and the other is equal opportunities.
No, that's something else. I am referring to the total equality of thoughts. It would be anti-moral. In other words, man is not made to think in the same way, otherwise you and I would not be like this right now.
Carlos, I'll see you next week.
Very sorry.
I haven't had enough stages left.
Lots of things to say, but
My specialty is cutting, excuse me.
Nothing.
Carlos Blanco, thank you.
Until next week.